Hey guys, welcome back to How to Roll Dice. I'm Josh, and for today's video, I wanted to give you a quick look at the games I got for Christmas this year. I hope you had a good holiday season. If you're in the vein of getting gifts this time of year, I hope you got some good stuff. But let's go ahead and jump into these. I've got 6 boxes here, and I've got them stacked from smallest to biggest, so we'll be increasing in size as we go. This first one here is The Crew, Mission Deep Sea. This is a follow-up to the first Crew, which was Search for Planet 9 or Quest for Planet 9. It's a trick-taking game for 3 to 5 players. It's cooperative, and it's by Cosmos Games. I haven't played this one before, but I really enjoy the first The Crew. If you don't know what a trick-taking game is, it's basically when you and the other players around the table each play one card. There are 4 different suits. There are 4 different colors. You can see here on the back of the box, and they're numbered 1 through 10, I believe, possibly 1 through 9. I think it's 1 through 10. And you're each going to play one card, and then somebody is going to win that hand, and they're going to take those cards and sort of place them in front of them. That's what a trick-taking game is. In this game, you have to play, or you have to have certain players win certain hands in the right order at the right timing, or with the right timing. And there's certain restrictions or requirements to each mission. Overall, one of the sort of primary restrictions of the game is that players can't communicate during a mission or during a round. You can't share what cards you have in your hand or what cards you've already played or have the ability to play. Basically, you have to strategize in your own mind based off what you're seeing other players play, and small clues that players can share at the beginning of every round, but very limited. It's very restricted what information you can share and how, and when you can update that information. So it's a really fun game. I'm excited to give this one a try. We still haven't gotten through all of the first one because there's something like 50 plus missions, and they do get increasingly hard as the game goes on, but it's definitely a game I want to put more time into because it's got almost the feel of a party game, like a social game, because it's so simple, and it's got a bit of humor to it in the sense that you're all kind of like freaking out and stressed out about how close you're getting to succeeding, but you can't share any of the information that you have, and so maybe you realize that things are about to go off the rails, but you can't tell anyone. Really, you're not even supposed to like give visual cues or like make facial expressions that would hint at what you know. So it's fun in that sense, and it's kind of funny in that sense, and you can all sort of discuss after a failed mission how things went off the rails and how you were freaking out but you couldn't say anything. So it's a good time, and it has that vibe of a party style game because it doesn't really take any gaming experience to play. It's sort of just a logic puzzle, and it's, 3 to 5 players is a good size. It's a lot of fun. So I'm excited to give this one a try and put more time into playing the first one. So that is The Crew, Mission Deep Sea. Next, we have Cascadia. This is a game that came out, I want to say this year or last year. Hold the box up here for you. This is Cascadia by AEG and Flat Out Games. This is a game that rocketed up the top 100 games on Board Game Geek. I was surprised at how quickly this one ascended. I want to say it's in the top 15 or maybe even the top 10 now, and it just came out, so obviously it's really got something to offer, I would assume. It's not a game that I've played. I actually haven't played, let me make sure, any of these before, but these are all games that were on my Christmas list because my Christmas list was basically, here are the top 100 games from BoardGameGeek.com, minus the ones that I already own and a small handful of ones that I'm just not interested in owning, which left something like 60 or 70 games, and I just gave that list to my wife and my family and said, buy me anything on this list that you want. I don't care if it's big or small or whatever. And that's what they did for the most part. So this being Cascadia, this says, Cascadia is a gorgeous spatial puzzle game for the whole family. Take a journey to the Pacific Northwest as you compete to create the most harmonious ecosystem in Cascadia. Turns are simple. Select a tile or token set and place each into your expanding ecosystem. I'm not going to go through the entire description, but you can take a quick look at what's on the back of the box here. It's a solid looking game. It doesn't look like it's huge as far as like table space goes. It actually looks like it's relatively simple at first when you set it out, and then as you sort of expand your ecosystem and place these hex tiles into your growing mesh or grid of hex tiles, each player is going to have this expanding environment in front of them. Seems really fun. I think this is going to be a solid game. I want to give it a try soon. This is 1 to 4 players and apparently takes 30 to 45 minutes. We'll see about that. I've never really trusted timing on boxes, but AEG often makes good stuff, so excited to give that a go. That is Cascadia. Then we've got, and this one I hope I can pronounce correctly. I've always only ever read it in my head online when looking at it. I've never had to say it out loud, but Tzolk'in, I want to say, I don't think you pronounce the T. It's Tzolk'in, the Mayan Calendar. This is a very cool looking game. I'll show you the back of the box in a minute. But in this game, and this game's been around for a while, I want to say, does it show it on the back of the box here? Yeah, this game's been around since at least 2012, possibly 2011. It says, the Maya was a highly developed civilization known for its unique art, complex architecture, sophisticated mathematics and advanced knowledge of the visible universe. At the heart of their society was the mysterious Tzolk'in, a 260-day calendar that used the movements of the planets to predict the right time to plant seeds, perform ceremonies, and build monuments. Now, if you take a look at the back of this box, it's got this amazing sort of cog and gear design, as well as this beautifully laid out board and some additional tokens. Looking at that board, oh, and by the way, I should say this is by Czech Games Edition, and it is, I want to say 1 to 4 players, 2 to 4 players, about an hour and a half according to the box. Looking at the back of this box, you can see this sort of cog gear layout to the board. I don't know if those cogs actually turn. I've always assumed they did, but now looking at the back of the box, I don't know if that's necessarily possible unless there's like pins that come up through the board that the cogs sit on that allow them to rotate. If they do actually rotate, that's amazing. That'll be one of the coolest, most interactive boards I've ever seen in a board game. But even if they don't, I really love the look and the layout of it. I also, earlier this year, or this year? Yeah, it's not 2023 yet. Earlier this year, just a few months ago, picked up Teotihuacan, City of the Gods, which is over here on the shelves. I don't know if you can really see it. It's not even unwrapped yet. I've tried to watch the gameplay on that. I've tried to learn how to play the game via videos online just to sort of get ahead of opening up the box and wanting to play it. And that game looks so insanely complicated, even though it's not rated that high. I don't even think it's up in the 4s as far as weight goes. But just watching how to set up that game, just set up alone, looked completely mind-melting. So I'm hoping that Tzolk'in is not as complex as that. But this, again, is obviously in the top 100 games. It's been around for quite a while. I'm excited to give that a try. I really love the look and the layout of that game. One of the same reasons that I really wanted to pick up Teotihuacan is because it just has this like beautiful like old, like ancient world Mayan design to it. I believe Teotihuacan is also Mayan. I'm not certain. It's one of the ancient South American cultures. I don't think it's Incan or it might be Aztec. I'm not sure. I think it's Mayan. I don't know. Anyways, moving on. Next, we have a heavy boy, Ark Nova. This is a game that came out not this year, I think. I want to say the year before, 2021, possibly 2022. This is by Capstone Games and Fjordland. This game is by the same company and same designers, I believe, that made Terraforming Mars. If not the same designer, it certainly has a lot of the same visual aesthetic. The concept of this game, Ark Nova, I'll give that a quick read before I show you the back of the box. In Ark Nova, you will plan and design a modern, scientifically managed zoo, striving to make the most successful zoological establishment. You will build enclosures, accommodate animals, and support conservation projects all over the world. Specialists in unique buildings will help you to achieve those goals. This game is actually one that I've gotten to see some sort of up close and personal pictures of lately. This is the back of the box here. You can take a look at the game itself there. This doesn't really do justice to the size of this game, I have now learned. Now, when I say this is aesthetically similar to Terraforming Mars, if you've played Terraforming Mars, if you take a look at these cards on the back of the box here, you can see how they're using a lot of sort of real life, almost photography and imagery, as opposed to using any kind of like caricatures or cartoons or illustrations on the cards. That's something that's very similar to Terraforming Mars. They're not all 100% photographs, but they're very sort of, I guess, hyper-realistic, you could say. They're meant to almost look like photographs as opposed to a game art, which was something that was originally kind of not daunting, but caught me off guard with Terraforming Mars. I would say it's one of the things that when I first started playing the game, I was like, well, this is a bit weird. It's almost like they just went online and chose to use like free clip art from the internet to illustrate their cards with, instead of hiring an art designer or somebody to actually draw or obtain art for their cards. But after playing through it a while, it does kind of fit with the style of game in that it's a very scientifically accurate, sort of technically accurate game that's meant to represent a real world scenario. And so having that more realistic art style to the cards does kind of fit and make sense. It almost gives it this textbook feel, like you're sitting in science class in high school, sort of like going over these biological like studies and things like that. That style of like vague generic art that you would find in a textbook. It's almost like the cards are going for that theme, and it actually ends up kind of feeling right and perfect for the game. I don't know if it's going to be the same in this one, but you can tell they went with the same style of art, and the game itself has some similar design qualities to it. Now, this game, again, looking at this box, you wouldn't be able to tell But a local gamer in my town who I've been talking with online lately, we're hoping to get together sometime this week actually to play a game together for the first time. He picked up a copy of Ark Nova, I want to say a month or so back, and he's been playing it with his wife and some of his other friends. And the pictures that he's been sharing of this game on like his dining room table with his wife and friends sitting around, this game is gigantic. Like this board that it shows on the back and these sort of like different sheets and layouts of cards that you're going to have in front of you, this takes up a ridiculous amount of space. Either that or he's got the world's smallest dining room table. But this thing seems absolutely huge. So I'm excited to actually see this set up in person. If it's as big as it seems, that could actually be a detriment to playing and owning this game. But I mean, it comes in a huge box and it's quite hefty as far as weight goes. But I'm excited to give it a try and see how it plays. The scale is something to be awed at, though. Then moving on to an even larger box, because like I said, that's how we stacked things. This is Lisboa. I believe that's how it's pronounced. This is a game that I wanted to own. It's on the top 100. Again, this is a game that I wanted to own based purely on artistic design. If you look at the front of this box, right, and you look at the components on the back of the box, which the front of the box mirrors perfectly, that art style that this game has throughout is extremely unique and very similar to not ancient, but like an old world European art style. It almost looks like it's printed the same way that European money is printed on like a cloth or cotton type of paper or linen. It's the way the colors are all desaturated and look like they were actually printed with some kind of a rollout printing press, and they're not perfectly crisp. They're kind of faded almost. The box itself is designed to look like it's got water wear on it. So if you look sort of here midway down the center of the box, there's like a crease line and a water line and almost like some browning on the box. I love that about the design of this game, and that's one of the things that really made me interested in owning a copy. This is a game for 1 to 4 players. It is by a company, I'm sure. The box is so well designed, I actually can't find the name of the company that produced the game. And I don't know it off the top of my head. So we're just going to go with It's Lisboa. In this game, you're, I believe, attempting to rebuild a city. Let's see. Lisboa is a thematically rich resource management game about the reconstruction of the great Portuguese capital city after a series of terrible catastrophes in the 18th century. Very excited to give this a shot. I mean, just looking at the list of components alone, it's like a mile long. The game board, the rule book, okay, sure, some solo rules, fine. 4-player aid books, 4-player boards, 68 goods tokens, 55 currency tokens, 20 plan tokens, 16 building tiles, 22 city tiles, 5 small city tiles, 4 scoring tiles, 12 royal favor tiles, 37 clergy tiles, 82 political. It just goes on, and I'm only on the second column out of 4 columns of tokens and components to this game. So it's absolutely huge, and I'm very excited to give it a try. I love games that are both visually and mechanically, I guess you could say, huge. Maybe that's the term. Not necessarily complex, but that have like a really large scale to them, that feel big and that feel like they have depth to them. And it's not just this thin surface layer of a handful of mechanics that you can work out in 10 minutes. And then it's just a puzzle solving game of who can work those 3 or 4 mechanics the best. This game seems like it has a relatively large, deep, multi-layered sort of structure of mechanics, and certainly has that in scale and visual design, so that it will be more challenging to fully wrap your head around, and then even more challenging beyond that to master and sort of become good at. But anyways, that is Lisboa. Those are the board games that I got this year. The last game is this box here, and it's not necessarily a game, it's an army for a game. This is the Leagues of Votann army box for Warhammer 40k. This just came out, I want to say 2 or 3 months ago. I'll show you the back of the box right here. If you're not into tabletop war games, I totally understand. This is probably not your cup of tea. I haven't really been playing them for the last 2 or 3 years because my game of choice, War Machine and Hordes, is going through a bit of a rebirth right now, and I wasn't really enjoying its most recent iteration, and I have a lot of hopes for its new iteration, though I'm not going to be buying into it for quite a while because the company that produces the game, Privateer Press, has sort of spoiled my, I guess, trust or faith in them with some of their most recent releases and the quality that they've been putting into their products being pretty lacking, in my opinion. That's just me. But I will likely be getting back into that at some point, or at least testing the waters once it's gotten a good bit of trial in the field with like actual releases, not beta testing or anything like that. Warhammer 40K, however, is a game that I've never really gotten into. I've always been aware of it. I've always sort of like kept up with it in the sense that I see the new models that come out and I think it looks great. I don't really love GW as a company. This is a sort of a conversation that's been going on in the comments sections of several of my videos here and there, where people are like, how come you don't like Games Workshop? Or you say you don't like Games Workshop, but obviously you're buying their stuff. So what's that all about? I'll try to solve it for you real quick right here, or settle it, provide a little additional information. To me, Games Workshop is kind of the Apple computers of the tabletop wargaming community, in that they are one of the most, if not the most successful, certainly one of the longest running companies. Their stuff is absolutely beautifully designed, but they make a lot of their money off of sheer fanboyism and marketing and adding price to their name. That's like, you can get there are companies that make models that are just as nice that cost almost half as much. And granted, those companies haven't been around for very long, so their games don't carry the clout that Games Workshop's games do. But there's no reason that they need to charge as much as they do. They do it because they can, and people will buy it because of what the brand is that they've built up, that they are the gods of tabletop wargaming. And I get it, they kind of are. But the fact that they're intentionally overcharging simply because they can, and the fact that they have this massive army of fanboys and gals behind them that like push their products and like swear by anything they release. They could probably release a box of turd and put like 40K turd collection on it, limited edition, one of 2,000, and they'd be selling on eBay for $500 a pop in like 6 weeks. So I don't like supporting companies like that, which is why when it comes to stuff by GW, I won't go out of my way to get it. I won't buy it myself. I won't really spend my own money on it. I would say in the last 2 or 3 years, the most I've spent on Games Workshop, not even the last 2 or 3 years, I haven't bought anything from them outside of 6 months ago. So in the last 6 months, since my friends have gotten into Blood Bowl and into 40K, I've spent a combined $50 on Games Workshop stuff. The army that I have for Blood Bowl, I bought at something like a 60% discount from Games Workshop at Nova Open in DC this past year. I did not buy the tree solo the treant solo that goes with that army. That was gifted to me by a friend. All the paints that I painted them with, I already had and are not GW paints. This box I specifically asked for Christmas because I was not willing to pick it up on my own. Even though my friends had reserved a copy for me to pick up from a local store, I chose not to, and I let them know I wasn't going to. They picked up their own copy, but I did not pick this up with my own money. I instead put it on my Christmas list and said, it's fine. I'm in no rush to get it. I'm not going to go out of my way to get it and spend my money on it because I'm not a huge supporter of the company. Have I ever played 40K? No, not really. I played it maybe 15, 20 years ago when it was totally different. I mean, it had a completely different iteration or revision to it, or edition, whatever they call them. So the game played entirely different. Actually, I've heard that the latest version of the game is much more simpler and streamlined than it used to be, but I haven't played this version of 40K or Age of Sigmar. I haven't played any fantasy, actually. Haven't played any of their smaller version games like Kill Team or I think it's called Kill Team or anything like that. We've played a couple of games of Blood Bowl. I think it's good, but I think the full-scale game is bloated, and I would much rather play sevens. So I went out and bought the stuff for sevens, which was, again, something like $40, $50. And that's all I've spent on the company, and frankly, that's all I want to give them as far as my hard-earned money goes. I will be building this probably today. I'll be spending a good amount of time building this, and I'm going to paint it up, and I'm going to bring it to Captain Con in February, and I'm going to bring my Blood Bowl to Captain Con and hopefully get some games in, and that'll be fun. But again, I'm not going out of my way to follow every single press release or news release that they offer. I'm not going to buy every single new model that comes out. I'm certainly not going to buy a second faction or anything like that. Here's a box. This is enough for me to play a small game. I will play small games. If my friends want me to play bigger games, then they can get me more models for my birthday or something. I'm not going to spend my own money on it. I don't want to support the company to that extent because I think they're just a bit shisty when it comes to the way that they operate. But yeah, so Leagues of Votann. I'll probably be building this up today if I can. I'll try to get through the entire box because building these models is generally pretty simple. They're well-made models and they go together pretty easily. But anyways, yeah, this is everything that I got for Christmas this year. That was a little sort of snippet as to my stance on 40K and why it is that I haven't gotten this box until now, even though I've been interested in getting it for several months. That's about it. I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you had a good holidays, like I said, and I will see you in the next one. Have a good day.